Greetings from Pittsburgh. It's Rona. If you're an opera fan, I'm sure you know that today, February 15th, 2013, the Met put on a new production of Parsifal. And if you love opera as much as I do, you'll want to know how the performance went. So you'll be reading the New York Times, the New York Post, or a blogger. Or you can hear it first right here from me. I listened to the webcast that the Met put out. Isn't that nice of them to let you hear it live for free? And as all of you know, I love to hear opera for great singing. However, I'm not an expert on Wagnerian operas in general. I know some way better than others. But out of all the operas by Wagner, probably the one I know the least or almost the least would be Parsifal. And so before the opera, I got busy on my computer and I was able to find the libretto in full. And I printed them up. Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. So I could follow everything along. As they were singing, I knew what they were singing about. However, there's so much to this opera. I went into parterre box where there were many people who knew way more than I did. And as the opera was going along, I was able to ask questions from people who are much more knowledgeable than me about little points in the plot and about some musical things. As most of you know, as this is the last of Wagner's operas, it is heavily dependent on the leitmotifs. The leitmotifs really make up the entire opera. And if you're familiar with them, you will hear them over and over again in various forms, sometimes woven together. It's a wonderful experience. But that's the opera. And now we get to the singers. How did the Met do tonight? Well, it's an odd opera because there are so many roles, and almost all of them are sung by men, almost all by low-voiced men. And so starting with what would be the smallest character in the opera, that would be Titurel, played by someone I don't know. He was making his house debut. His name is Rune Brateberg, and I believe they said he was from the Faroe Islands. Isn't that exotic? He did fine. Nothing great. Then all the other characters sort of share the weight of the opera, except for Gouvernements, who is really the lead character in the opera. He's on stage more than anybody. He sings more than anyone, but yet the opera is called Parsifal. So in no particular order, Klingsor is played by the Russian basso Nitikin, the one who had the scandal about his tattoo. I thought he was excellent. He had a very good timbre to his voice to bring out the evil Klingsor. In the role of Amfortas was a real surprise to me, Peter Mattei. I never would have thought of him as being a Wagnerian singer, but maybe he's known for being a Wagnerian singer in Europe. I have no idea. He was gorgeous as Amfortas. I think that's a beautiful role. The words that he has to sing make you feel so much for his suffering and what he's done, the drama that unfolds because he fell from grace and had the spear taken from him. Then there is Kundry, who wanders the earth eternally from the days of Christ till when the opera takes place, somewhere in the Middle Ages. And it was done by someone I like very much, Katarina Dalaiman. I've heard her on other Met webcasts and on YouTube. I like her very much. I think she's a leading Wagnerian soprano, and there are very few of them today. The beginning, when she comes in, is a very difficult part because she just sings little phrases, not really a something akin to an aria or an extended time. And I was just a little bit afraid, oh no, maybe she's over the hill, maybe she's not going to be so good. She was great. Just the first little bit was a little unfocused and unsettled. Maybe she was nervous, what do I know? She did such a wonderful job. If any of you have ever looked at a score of Parsifal, you will know that she sings high and low and high and low, and she's got to just get them out. And the music that she sings is very, very dramatic, and in the third act, it's just a blow-away emotional experience. Another role that is very prominent is the title character of the opera, Parsifal. But he doesn't have the most to do. Parsifal was sung by Jonas Kaufmann. As everyone knows who's seen any of my opera reviews where he's participated in the opera, I adore him. I love his singing. To me, he is what singing is all about. Having a beautiful voice, a great technique, having a connection with the audience, being honest, just doing a great job. He throws himself into these roles. He's also very handsome. I, of course, couldn't see what he looked like because I was only listening, but I was imagining. And the Met so kindly put out a little clip of him singing a part of the opera where he screams, "Am fortas, am fortas." It's fabulous. Singing in the largest role, Goran Mans, was René Pape, someone I've heard many times. I'm a fan of his. I love his singing. I have to say, this was the greatest singing I have ever heard him do. He was just magnificent in the role, in his acting of his voice and his vocal presentation and how he sang. Remember, this opera started at 6 o'clock and ended at 11:45. He sings in the beginning, he sings in the end. And in the middle of the opera are two 40-minute intermissions. This is not easy for a singer. He did a great job. At the end of the opera, when all the singers came out, they all got enormous rounds of applause. And then the conductor, Daniel Gatti, got up, took his bow. I believe he got the largest applause. The audience really appreciated the work he did with the orchestra, the soloists, the chorus. The chorus was, as always, fabulous. The men have a lot to do, and they were just beyond words. I just have no words to say how great they were. And then there's all the little maiden stuff with the ladies. They were delightful. There are knights and pages. Everybody was terrific. The orchestra has bells, or a big bell, harps. It's a fabulous score. Leading the chorus was Donald Palumbo, who also got a wonderful round of applause. When the production team came out, there were great cheers and great boos. So I'll have to wait and see it for myself to know what I think of the production. One small note about applause. At the end of Act 1, there was just a little bit of polite applause. At the end of Act 2, there was a little bit more of light applause. At the end of Act 3, you have the great, great ending and the final note with its beautiful diminuendo. Somebody in the audience let out a humongous cough, totally spoiling the mood of the end of the opera. What can you do? And then wild applause broke out. Well, you heard it here first. So I hope you all go and see the HD production, which will be March 2nd. Tomorrow I'm going to see Rigoletto. What a weekend of opera. But honestly, nothing can top the experience I had tonight, especially because I was able to follow along with the libretto. But when I go to the HD, they'll have the super titles or subtitles for me under the singing. Have a great night, everyone.